Okay, let's do the thing. Hi, I'm Jay. I'm going through a quarter life crisis, which is why I thought starting a booktube channel was a good idea. What are we doing today? This was supposed to be a TBR for the Film Myth Readathon. Film Myth, short for Filipino Myth, but my time management is not great. That feeling when you fall short of your own expectations. What we're going to do is that I'm going to go through the myths / prompts, and I'm also going to tell you the books that I read or wanted to read. So the first prompt is Makalas at Maganda. Yeah, that sounded right. So Makalas at Maganda is the Filipino version of Adam and Eve, except I'm reading from a cheat sheet. It is a Filipino version of Adam and Eve, but vegan, since they are from the inside of a bamboo. To show respect to our ancestors, read a book by a Filipino author written in your mother tongue. If none, go with Tagalog or other preferred language in the Philippines. So for this book, I read Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Ribeye. So the plot of this book is that it follows a Filipino-American teenager named Jason, and the conflict of the book begins when Jay learns that his cousin in the Philippines has been killed. And he's filled with such a strong desire to find out what happens to his cousin that he decides to travel to the Philippines and figure out the truth of what happened to June and if Jason could have done anything to have prevented his death. And you know what? I'm gonna let Past Jay take it from here because she actually had a lot to say about this book after she finished it. Hi! I just finished Patron Saints of Nothing, and I was crying. The ending of this book really got to me. That being said, it was just okay. I don't want to be mean, but the main character is kind of basic. Especially like we're comparing him to his cousin June, because June's death is the catalyst for the story. And the more we learn about June, the more we just like love him, the more you appreciate him, the more you like feel the loss of his death. The more you read about June, the more you're like, I don't want to hear anything about Jason. And Jason's the main character. Like, there are some chapters where it's just like Jason and this girl he has a crush on, and I'm like, oh my god, not another Jason chapter. But they're all Jason chapters. Yeah, so I didn't like it. I wanted to so bad. So the second prompt was the manananggal. Yeah, I got it. I nailed it. That was perfect, right? So the manananggal is similar to a vampire. It's like human-like with bat-like wings, but it can detach its top half of the body from the bottom half, and it'll just fly around. And I bet you're wondering what happens to the intestines in the body. The intestines are there. They're dangling. As if that wasn't terrifying enough. I don't understand why Western media hasn't plagiarized the crap out of this. Is there Manananggal Diaries out there? Can we option this for a pilot? So in honor of the Manananggal's special ability to completely rip itself in half, the prompt is to read a book told from two perspectives or across dual timelines. So the book I picked was This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Multair and Max Gladstone. I pronounced the first one right, but I pronounced the white sounding name wrong. So this book follows two time-traveling agents who are on opposing ends of a time war, of a war through time. Their sides have a distinct future in mind. They are trying to manipulate past events in history to make sure that their reality is the one that prevails and the other timeline ceases to exist. That's their role. And their two best agents on the job fall in love. It's dope. It's beautiful. Did I mention that they're both women? I don't know if this would fall under sapphic romance. I'm not as familiar with the term, but the two main love interests, their budding relationship is definitely one that is based on an emotional and intellectual connection. They spend years leaving like beautiful, elegant love letters full of intelligent ponderings and yearnings for each other, and like, damn. But yeah, I really liked it. When I first started reading the book, it took me a minute to get into it. I think that I was expecting a narrative that was equally focused on the time war aspect and the love story, but it really just is mostly focused on the love story. You really don't get much about the time war, and that's totally fine. It just wasn't what I expected at first. Great news is the romance is an 11 out of 10. The third myth was Sirena, which is basically just a siren. The prompt for Sirena is to just read a book in verse. For this, I picked A Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. It is about a 16-year-old boy named Will who, over the course of an elevator ride, is contemplating whether or not he will go out and kill the person who murdered his brother. In that elevator ride, he meets several ghosts who kind of like talk him through the emotional impact this would take on him and whether or not he is capable of going through with it. I really like this book. I listened to this on audiobook. My experience was really engaging. It kind of like feels like simplified prose. Like as I'm listening to it, I just feel like I'm hearing a conversation between Will and the people that he encounters in the elevator. It's read by the author. It also has a little like author's interview at the end where Jason Reynolds talks a bit about his inspiration, and I found that having both those pieces really heightened my experience of reading the book. The experience of the audiobook was perfect. So the next prompt is the Duende, which is basically a dwarf. The post I'm reading from describes them as small but terrible. You were supposed to read a mass market paperback book, and for that I read The Hobbit. It's not the mass paperback version. I'm assuming one exists. I have this nicer version that I got for my dad one Christmas and he never read it, so fine. Here's what I learned from reading most of The Hobbit. I learned that I have no taste. I want to reread this book again when I'm not under a time crunch, because I was definitely like purposely like rushing to finish it and it wasn't working for me. I wasn't able to like immerse in the story as much as I wanted to. Also, I feel like in my heart that I am one of those people who was intrigued by the Lord of the Rings movies, but the Tolkien universe is just too intense for me. If you're looking for like an accessible version of the Lord of the Rings world, I've been listening to this podcast called That's What I'm Talking About. It is great. It's about a young woman who is reading Lord of the Rings for the very first time. So that's been really fun. Kind of been like getting my like Lord of the Rings book introduction through her. Final verdict is that I'm not good enough for Tolkien. So the fifth prompt I'm going to cover is The Black Lady. It's kind of an evil ghost. Picture black dress, hair and face, usually associated with demons. So the Black Lady is actually the counterpart to another spirit called, take a wild guess, the White Lady. I don't know what the White Lady is. They didn't explain that for the prompt. Anyway, the prompt that went along with it is read a book with a mostly black cover that was also written by a woman of color. So for this, I read Lagoon by Nnedi Okorafor. Ooh, girl. Ooh, girl, Lagoon is tough to explain. My super quick pitch to you is aliens. Aliens invade and shit hits the fan. Did I nail it or did I nail it? So Lagoon is the story of an aquatic alien ambassador that crash lands off the coast of Lagos and makes first contact with 3 supposedly randomly chosen strangers. The narrative just follows the chaos that ensues when the world finds out that aliens are here. It's weird, but it's a really good kind of weird. I am gonna read Lagoon no matter what. Like, I'm gonna finish it. I'll give you an update. For now, I really like it. I'm about a third of the way through, a little over a third of the way through. I love it so far. So I'll let you know how Lagoon goes at a later date. So the 6th myth is San Telmo. San Telmo is short for St. Elmo's Fire, which are 2 balls of fire that fight each other. You know, I tried Googling it and that wasn't super helpful either. So I would love for a more knowledgeable person to tell me what's going on there. The prompt was read a book with fire on it or just says fire in the title. For that, I tried to read Aeon by Alison Goodman. It's about a
dragon. Mulan vibes. Don't panic. They don't know that you don't know what you're talking about.
It's about a girl who is the main character in a YA dystopia. Hi, it's Editing Jay in person. I'm gonna save all of us a lot of time because I do not know how to explain the plot of this book to you. It's basically, from what I understand, Mulan, but with dragons. That's probably not right, but that is the best I can do, considering I only read 30 pages. Okay, bye. So if you watched my booktube newbie tag video, you would know that my whole bit on this channel is that I want to revisit the forgotten books of my youth, and this is one of them. I bought this when I was 17 years old. I love dragons. Dragons are my favorite magical creature, but I never really found a dragon story that I was into. Whatever it is, the writing style was just a little too dense for me. I never found like one that hit like the sweet spot of YA that I was very much into at the time. I don't have a review for this, but at a later date I will revisit it. Finally, this is the last prompt on Maria McKeeling. So Maria McKeeling was a goddess who kind of resides in Mount Makiling in the Philippines. Her whole, I was about to say her whole deal. She was a generous goddess who kind of like took care of the earth and took care of the people, and she fell in love with a mortal man, and the mortal man said that he loved her back and that he wanted to be with her and everything was great. And then this mother fudger went and married another mortal woman. I knew this already, but girl, heterosexual men are not shit. And so Maria McKeeling was obviously very upset by this. She kind of became hella salty about it. So in the spirit of Maria McKeeling, the prompt was to read a book with a beautiful cover, and for that I chose A Promised Land by Barack Obama. You know what, I goofed when I picked up this book. I just thought it would be really funny, you know, like for a prompt with a beautiful cover to just then choose a book with Barack Obama's face on it. Yeah, I didn't start this because she's thick, she's heavy, and the font is hecka small. It's been on my TBR since my parents bought each other the same book for Christmas. It's March now. No, it's April. So yeah, that was an attempt to do the Film Myth Readathon. You know, better luck next time, I guess. You know what? I think I earned a badge though. So there are badges that you can win as part of the Film Myth Readathon. I got one badge for each of the accomplished prompts, which were Malakas at Maganda, the Manananggal, the Serena. Yeah, those are the 3 I finished. So I got 3 badges. You get another badge for a final rank. So for finishing 3 prompts, you get the Baganay badge. That's the lowest one. Really going above and beyond here. But I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed reading the books. I enjoyed learning about the prompts. I enjoyed talking to you right now. Yeah, I had a good time. I hope you did too. And I'll see you in the next one. Not knowing what you're doing just makes everything take longer. Have you noticed that? This is what happens when you join a readathon 2 days after it started. You're unprepared. Okay. Mananana, what? The Manananangal. One second. It felt like it was going too well. I had to make sure we were still recording. Is there a nope. I had it and then I didn't have it. So for finishing 3 prompts, you get the shit.